Welcome back to Oops, That Worked, the podcast where history's biggest mistakes turn into life-changing discoveries. Today we're diving into a shattering accident that ended up saving millions of lives. Ever driven a car and not been showered in shards of glass after a pebble hit your windshield? You can thank one very forgetful scientist for that. Buckle up because this is the story of how safety glass was born, completely by accident. Our story takes us back to 1903 in France, where a chemist named Édouard Bénédictus was busy doing what chemists do, mixing chemicals and probably hoping nothing exploded. One day, while working in his lab, Bénédictus accidentally knocked a glass flask off a shelf. But instead of shattering into a million sharp pieces, it just cracked and held its shape. No mess, no cleanup, no crisis. Being a scientist, he didn't just shrug and move on. He investigated and found that the flask had previously contained cellulose nitrate, a sticky liquid plastic. When it dried inside the glass, it created an invisible protective coating. Bénédictus had unknowingly created something that could revolutionize glass safety. Now, most of us would see this, think, neat, and then forget about it. But not Bénédictus. He immediately thought about how this discovery could be useful, particularly in car windshields. You see, at the time, automobiles were becoming more popular, but they had one major flaw. Windshields were just regular glass. In an accident, they shattered into razor-sharp shards, turning minor crashes into deadly disasters. Bénédictus saw the potential of his discovery and began working on a way to apply the cellulose-coated glass to cars. By 1909, he had patented the first version of what we now call safety glass. At first, car manufacturers weren't exactly thrilled about the idea because, let's be honest, extra safety wasn't high on their priority list back then. But then came World War I, when soldiers needed shatterproof glass for their gas masks. Suddenly, Bénédictus's invention had a practical and life-saving use. Fast forward to the 1920s and 1930s, and automakers finally realized safety glass was a game-changer. By the mid-20th century, it became standard in car windshields, drastically reducing injuries and saving countless lives. Here's a fun fact. Safety glass doesn't just keep us safe in cars. It's used in hockey rinks, banks, airplane windows, and even bulletproof glass. So if you've ever been on the other side of a hockey puck traveling at 100 miles per hour and not ended up in the emergency room, you can thank Bénédictus and his clumsy moment of brilliance. So next time you're in your car, driving down the road and your windshield stays intact after a rock hits it, take a second to appreciate the scientist who turned an accident into a life-saving invention. And remember, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the biggest mistakes and a little bit of forgetfulness. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story about how the world's greatest accidents turned into everyday essentials. Thanks for watching Oops, That Worked. See you next time.